Emily abandoned me because sis blames me for her divorce. Years later, I get an email out of nowhere explaining me everything W proof, so I ruined her life with it. You always hated her because she succeeded. My father spat as he signed the house over to my sister. I didn't argue. I just nodded, packed, and left. Last week, her ex slid a USB across the table. I think you should see what she did. Now the whole family's calling. They said I was the bitter, talentless brother until her ex sent me a folder that shattered everything. 7 years of deceit, and now the golden child is begging for silence. Story. I remember the exact moment my entire world collapsed. It wasn't gradual, like raindrops pooling on the ground. It was more like a single bolt of lightning splitting a tree in half, sudden, violent, and utterly irreversible. 1 minute, I was an average 22-year-old guy, living with my parents to save some money after college. The next, I was standing on the front porch with a duffel bag, my mother's voice ringing in my ears. "You don't deserve to be here. Leave before we make you leave." It still feels surreal. Why would a family cast out their own child so abruptly? The short answer, my sister, Hannah, convinced everyone I'd sabotaged her marriage by refusing to introduce her fiancé, Pete, to my boss, a successful CEO at a leadership company. She told them I'd done it out of jealousy, that I wanted her to fail. She even produced fake emails and text messages, twisted words, and pieced together half-truths that made me look like a schemer determined to keep her from rising up the corporate ladder. I'll never forget how quickly my parents swallowed her version of events. No questions asked. I was guilty before I could even open my mouth. "Out," my father said. "You don't belong here anymore." And that was it, me entire life, battered by a single, ruthless accusation. But if this moment was the crash of the wave, the years that followed were the stormy sea. Because what came next, a slow, painful rebuild, would lead me down a path of revelations, confrontations, and a final act of justice that even I never saw coming. I was born 7 years after Hannah. She was the golden child from day one, smart, charming in front of the right people, and always able to bend our parents to her will. I was more like the family footnote, quiet, bookish, the one who needed guidance. Hannah used to joke that I was only there to make her look better by comparison. Mom and Dad would laugh, but I remember how her words stung, even if they were delivered in a playful tone. Hannah was always good at twisting narratives. In high school, she'd convince teachers that late assignments were never her fault. If I needed help with my homework, it mysteriously became a chore I was forcing on her. At family gatherings, she charmed the relatives with stories of her achievements, sprinkling in how difficult it was to handle a baby brother who couldn't get it together. Deep inside, I guess I never expected my parents to take her side on everything. But the truth is, they did over and over, for years. Looking back, the seeds of favoritism were planted so early, I don't think my parents even realized how lopsided their love had become. Or maybe they did, but found comfort in giving Hannah everything she demanded. I was never bold enough to fight her manipulations. I just tried to keep the peace. That is, until the day she accused me of sabotaging her engagement to Pete. "You deliberately set me up to fail." Hannah's voice still echoes in my head. She had burst into the living room, tears streaming down her cheeks in an almost theatrical way. "You knew Pete and I needed that meeting with your boss, but you never followed through. We waited. You said you'd get us in the door. Pete never got to impress them, and then everything fell apart." I recall standing there, my heart pounding, my thoughts tangled. "What meeting? You and Pete never showed up." I waited with my boss for an entire hour at the office. She turned to my parents, her face twisted with pain that looked all too real. "He's lying. We have the emails, we have the texts. He never gave us a date or time. It was all a big joke to him, a way to make us look stupid." I remember searching my phone for the chain of messages. There had been a scheduled slot for Pete to introduce himself to my boss. Pete never arrived. I double-checked to see if maybe I'd made a mistake. But all the times matched. I had done my part. They just didn't show. My boss even asked me, "Where's this brilliant fiancé of your sister's?" I cleared my schedule. Time is money, you know. I had no explanation then and only an apologetic shrug to offer. Hannah pulled out a stack of printed screenshots. They looked so legitimate, I started to doubt my own memory. They showed me canceling appointments, shifting times last minute, making snarky remarks about how unprofessional Pete was. But something felt off. The wording was so harsh, nothing like my own tone. Yet my name and photo were there at the top of every supposed text or email. My parents flipped through them, disbelief morphing into rage. How could you do that to your own sister? My mother's voice cracked. I tried to stammer out an explanation, but my father pointed to the door. You have an hour to pack your things. They didn't even give me time to properly defend myself. The anger in the room felt tangible, like a hot wave pressing against my skin. I rushed upstairs to throw my clothes into a bag. My hands shook the entire time. She's lying, I whispered, over and over, as if chanting it might change the outcome. But the more I said it, the more powerless I felt. Outside, the sun was setting. My mother stood at the threshold, arms crossed. She wouldn't meet my eyes. It's best if you go, she whispered, Hannah's heartbroken. I opened my mouth, desperate for one last plea, but she took a step back, letting the door creak shut between us. I heard the lock click. That was the moment the heartbreak truly sank in. I crashed on a friend's couch for a few weeks. I remember lying there at night, staring at the stained apartment ceiling, asking myself how my family could discard me so easily. Was I really nothing but an inconvenience to them? I tried calling Hannah the next day. No answer. I tried calling my parents. Blocked. Every email I sent went unanswered. Eventually, I gave up. One night, my friend found me sobbing at the kitchen table. You look like you saw a ghost, he said. It feels like I lost my entire life in one day. He squeezed my shoulder. They'll come around. But weeks turned into months. My father never called. My mother never texted. Hannah haunted my thoughts. She'd orchestrated my downfall in minutes. I threw myself into work. My boss, who'd seen me try to help Pete, believed me. He gave me new projects, and I used them to escape my heartbreak. I saved enough for a tiny studio. At least it was mine. Nights were brutal. I dreamed of coming home to my parents, arms wide, admitting it was all a mistake. Then I'd wake, tears on my pillow. 4 years passed. I wasn't that terrified boy anymore. I had a steady job, a better place, and friends who felt like a makeshift family. Late one night, an email appeared. You need to read this. My heart pounded. The note was brief. I'm sorry I took so long. The attachments should make sense. Inside were files mirroring what Hannah had once shown my parents, but these had timestamps, IP logs, and side-by-side comparisons. Red highlights for fabrications, green for my actual messages. It was undeniable proof I'd been framed. My throat tightened. I felt dizzy, yet relieved. The truth had finally arrived. My head spun. I stared at my phone, unsure who to call. My parents? Number? They wouldn't listen. Hannah? Absolutely not. The heartbreak surged again, but this time, a fierce anger simmered beneath it. I deserved answers. If these attachments were legit, I had something powerful. The truth. A second message pinged in my inbox. If you want more proof, meet me at the Lakeside Diner on Friday, 7 p.m. Nerves fluttered in my stomach. Was this a trap? But I had to know, had to see what else might surface. I wrote back, "Who is this?" No response. So, I took a leap of faith and showed up that Friday. Pete waited in a corner booth, eyes heavy with regret. My heart pounded as I slid into the seat across from him. I'm sorry, he began, voice trembling. I believed everything Hannah said, how you blocked our meeting with your boss, how you tried to sabotage my career. She told me you hated that she was marrying someone outside your social circle. I clenched my fists, swallowing the urge to shout. Why would you trust her without proof? He lowered his gaze. She had evidence. Those fake emails and texts. I felt betrayed and furious. I blocked you, fed your parents the same lies, and they believed every word. He pushed a worn folder toward me. A while back, I found old files on my laptop. Hannah saved chat logs and editing software logs. She tweaked timestamps, forged messages, sometimes imitating your exact wording. She told me it was to protect her future. She kept saying she needed more money, that you were withholding opportunities to keep her dependent. My chest constricted as I flipped through pages detailing Hannah's calculated deceit. Why are you coming forward now? Pete's eyes glistened. After the divorce, I tried to move on, but the guilt kept eating at me. I knew she'd set you up, especially when I saw your engagement post. You deserve the truth. Tears blurred my vision. I spent years blamed for her manipulations. He winced. I'm so ashamed. I avoided this because I feared her chaos. But seeing you build a life despite it, I couldn't keep quiet. We parted in uneasy silence. I went home and examined every faked message. Hannah had mastered my conversational tone, spliced emails to paint me as cruel, even invented financial demands I supposedly made to keep her down. Also, my parents would see me as the villain and hand her more support. Update 2. Uncovering old wounds. The next day, I spread the documents before my fiancée, Liza. She skimmed the doctored screenshots and shook her head. She must have spent hours editing these, all because she needed money and wanted to stay on top. I exhaled slowly. I can't let her hide behind these lies anymore. Liza squeezed my hand. So, you'll confront them? My stomach twisted. Yes. Even if they still deny it. I have to show them the truth. And with that, I began a journey back into the past armed, at last, with undeniable proof of Hannah's manipulation. I emailed my parents a concise ultimatum. I have proof Hannah lied. If you want the truth, meet me Sunday. Otherwise, I'm done. No response came until my father finally messaged. Come at noon. Liza offered to drive me. I'll wait in the car if you need backup. Grateful, I agreed, my stomach churning at the thought of seeing everyone under one roof again. The house felt unnervingly familiar, yet hostile. My father's face was set in a grim line. My mother stood behind him, and Hannah perched on the couch, tapping her phone with a feigned indifference. The tension roiled like a thundercloud. My father gestured at an armchair. We're here. Show us your proof. I remained standing, placing a folder on the coffee table. Hannah claimed I sabotaged her engagement, that I canceled a crucial meeting, but I have evidence she faked those messages. Hannah scoffed, her tone dripping contempt. Still on that? You never learn. Ignoring her, I opened the folder to reveal side-by-side comparisons of my genuine emails against her doctored screenshots. My mother paled. Where did these come from? Pete, I said simply. At the mention of her ex-fiancé, Hannah's eyes flashed. She insisted he was lying to hurt her, but the folder was full of incriminating detail timestamps, IP traces, her edits meticulously logged. My father's gaze flickered with uncertainty. My mother reached for a page, voice trembling. Hannah, is this true? She stood, fury radiating. He's forging them, or Pete is. Why believe anyone but me? I looked at her steadily. Explain how I magically copied your IP address or your writing style. This is your work. Suddenly, Hannah cracked. Fine. I doctored some screenshots. I was desperate. You had all these connections, while I was stuck with a fiancé who didn't lift a finger to help my career. I needed more financial support, and you overshadowed me. My mother gasped, my father's anger blazing. We kicked him out for you. You lied. Hannah spun on them. You never questioned it. If you cared so much, why not hear his side? The silence was excruciating. My mother sank onto the couch, covering her face. My father turned to me, voice wavering. We ruined everything. I stared at them, the folder clenched in my shaking hands. I'm not here for apologies. I just wanted you to see the truth. Hannah stormed out, slamming the door. My parents stared at me, hollow-eyed. My mother whispered tearfully, Why didn't you fight harder? I swallowed. I tried. You pushed me away. She reached out, but I stepped back. I need time. This can't be fixed overnight. I left them sitting in their regret, the exposed forgeries lying on the table like a final verdict. Outside, Liza awaited me in the car. She searched my face as I got in. How did it go? I gazed straight ahead, tears stinging my eyes. They know now. A few days of silence passed, yet my phone lit up with unknown numbers. Hannah enlisted everyone she knew to bombard me with calls or texts. Some pleaded, she's sorry, talk to her. Others accused, you destroyed her life, are you happy now? The irony struck me. She once ruined my life with lies, but now I was the villain for revealing the truth. I stayed quiet. One night, the incessant buzzing forced me to answer. It was Hannah, her voice trembling. I have nowhere to go. You humiliated me in front of our parents. My mind flashed to the day I stood on our porch with a duffel bagger doing. I never wanted you homeless, I said gently. I just wanted honesty. She snarled, Don't act innocent. You loved seeing me suffer, so you got your revenge. I sighed. Revenge? I spent years rebuilding my life. You never cared if I was okay. You forged messages, lied to mom and dad. She cut me off. You're not perfect. You always got praise for your job and connections, Pete was a letdown, and you made him look incompetent, so I beat you to it. Big deal. The words stung, but I'd grown too tired to argue. Goodbye, Hannah. I ended the call. Her voicemail swung between apologies and rage. In one, she sobbed, "Help me fix this. Tell our parents it wasn't that bad." I let the phone fall silent. The time to fix her lies had passed. Less than a week later, my parents tried to corner me outside my apartment. My father looked older, his hair grayer, shoulders stooped. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed, like she'd been crying for days. My father raised a trembling hand. "We need to talk." I folded my arms. "About what?" My mother's voice shook. "We let Hannah come home, but she's in a bad place. We want to make things right with both of you. We're still a family." The word family made me flinch. They wanted to bury the conflict under a rug, pretend it never happened. I drew a shaky breath. "Did you forget how easily you threw me away?" My father looked ashamed. "That was a mistake, and we're sorry." I stared at them, my mind racing through memories of that day. The heartbreak, the scorn, the absolute coldness, the fact that they never even gave me the benefit of the doubt. My mother stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on my elbow. "You have to understand, Hannah was hysterical. We believed her because we thought she'd never lie about something so serious." A bitter laugh escaped me. "But she did." Silence stretched. Cars whooshed by on the street behind us. Finally, my father cleared his throat. "We want you to come over for dinner tonight. Let's talk it out as a family." A swirl of anger and sadness churned in my chest. "I'm not sure I want that." My mother's eyes welled. "Please, we can't lose you again." I felt exhaustion settle over me like a heavy blanket. "I'll think about it," I said, then turned inside, leaving them on the doorstep. That evening, I paced my living room. My phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from my parents. "We're waiting. Hannah wants to apologize. Please come." Liza found me staring at the phone, conflicted. "They hurt you so badly," she said. "Do you really want to open that wound again?" I couldn't stop my mind from drifting to the nights I cried alone, the stigma of being disowned. But a small part of me wondered if closure was possible. Could I handle a face-to-face with Hannah again? Against my better judgment, I went. It was a decision fueled partly by curiosity and partly by a desire for closure. Liza insisted on coming with me. When we arrived, Hannah was sitting stiffly at the dining table. My parents hovered nearby with anxious expressions. The food smelled good: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, a meal that once brought me comfort. Now, the aroma turned my stomach. Hannah tilted her chin up as I entered. "So you actually came." I tried to keep my voice calm. "I'm here to talk, nothing more." My mother gestured for everyone to sit. We took our seats in uncomfortable silence. For a moment, we all just stared at each other. Then Hannah spoke in a shaky tone. "Fine, I'll say it. I'm sorry. I never thought it would blow up like this." My father exhaled with relief, as if an apology solved everything. "Can we move on now?" Something snapped inside me. "Move on? You don't get to pick up the pieces like nothing happened." I lost years of my life, a stable home, a relationship with my parents. You all believed I was a liar, a saboteur. You never even asked me for my side. Hannah's voice rose. "I said I'm sorry, but you have to understand how I felt. Pete was slipping away, my dreams were evaporating, and you were flaunting connections. I did what I had to do to ruin my life." I cut in. She banged her fist on the table, tears forming. "You're not innocent in everything. Don't stand there and act like you never overshadowed me. You had Dad's pride. You had the chance to connect Pete with some fancy CEO. I held up a hand, anger flaring. "And I did arrange it. Pete never showed. That's not on me." My father tried to intervene, looking frantic. "Let's calm down. This is supposed to be a reconciliation." Liza's eyes flashed with anger. "Reconciliation requires genuine remorse and accountability, not excuses." Hannah's gaze flicked to Liza, narrowing in resentment. "Why are you even here? You have no idea what went on between me and my brother." I felt a protective surge. "She knows what it feels like to stand by someone who was cast out by his own family." My mother tried to hush me. "Don't make this bigger than it is." I stood up abruptly, heart pounding. "It was always bigger than you realize. You kicked me out with no remorse. You forced me to rebuild my life from scratch. You never even apologized." My father opened his mouth, but Liza grabbed my hand. "I think we should go." Hannah leapt to her feet, reaching out with trembling hands. Don't leave. I know I messed up. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. The edge of desperation in her voice reminded me of my younger self, begging them to hear me all those years ago. The symmetry was dizzying. Part of me felt sorry for her, but it was buried beneath a mountain of hurt. I pulled away. I'm done trying to fix something I didn't break, I said, voice trembling. You can keep your apologies if they come with excuses. My parents looked stricken, but they didn't follow me as Liza, and I walked out. That told me all I needed to know. A few days after that disastrous dinner, I received a call from an unknown number. A clipped voice introduced himself as a lawyer representing Pete. My heart lurched. Pete is considering legal action against Hannah for forging documents that painted him as irresponsible to potential business partners, the lawyer said. We understand you have relevant evidence regarding her manipulations. I blinked in surprise. He's suing her? A pause. Potentially. He wants to clear his name from any rumor that he was unprofessional or lazy. Those falsified messages could have impacted his reputation. I couldn't help but feel a strange satisfaction. Pete was wrong too. He was the fiancé who never got the chance to demonstrate his ambitions because Hannah was playing puppet master behind the scenes. I'll cooperate, I replied quietly. Just send me the forms. That same evening, I found myself scanning the documents. They included depositions from Pete, references to the digital footprints that traced back to Hannah. I felt a wave of vindication. Not only had she lied to me, but she'd also lied to Pete, damaging his chances at crucial business partnerships. My phone buzzed with a text from Hannah. You can't seriously be supporting Pete's lawsuit. We're family. I stared at the screen, bitterness swelling inside me. Where was "we're family" when I stood sobbing on the porch with nowhere to go? My parents showed up yet again, this time banging on my apartment door. Liza was at work, so I answered alone. They looked frantic. My mother spoke first, voice trembling. We just heard from Hannah. There might be a lawsuit. You're siding with Pete? I sighed. He asked for my help to prove the messages were forged. I can't lie. My father's voice rose. This will ruin your sister. She could lose her job, her credibility. Don't do this. She's your blood. I met his gaze. Where was that concern for blood when you kicked me out? Why are you only worried now that there are consequences for Hannah? My mother burst into tears. We were wrong, but you can't let a stranger destroy Hannah's life. I took a step back. Pete isn't a stranger. He's the man your daughter betrayed, and I'm the son you disowned. They pleaded, tried to guilt me, telling me it would tear the family apart for good. I stood firm, recalling how their accusations tore me apart. Part of me wanted to fling the door in their face, but I held my composure. Quietly, I said, Hannah can face the consequences of her actions. That's not my burden anymore. I closed the door on them, ignoring the muffled sobs and pleas from the hallway. This time, I didn't cry. I felt an odd calm, like a storm passing. In the weeks that followed, Pete pursued legal action to protect his professional reputation. Hannah was forced to admit her wrongdoing in a settlement negotiation. She tried to spin the story, claiming mental distress and emotional turmoil led her to do it, but the evidence was damning. I provided a written statement verifying what Pete found on the laptop, cross-referencing the real messages I'd sent. The matter was resolved with a settlement, although it cost Hannah a significant sum she didn't have. Financial strain crushed her further, and I heard through the grapevine that she nearly lost her teaching position. My parents ended up funneling their retirement savings into helping Hannah. They tried once more to contact me, implying I owed them support because we're still family. My only response was that my loyalty was spent. They couldn't buy back the lost years or the lost trust. Standing in my new home's backyard, I watch the sun dip behind the fence. Liza joins me, slipping her hand into mine. We're months away from our wedding, a day that should be filled with family and laughter. Except, I've chosen not to invite my parents or Hannah. From an outside perspective, it might seem harsh, but the scars they left are too deep. Family should protect you, or at least ask for your side before casting you into the darkness. They didn't. They let me slip away without a single tear. Now, they want reconciliation on their terms. I breathe in the cool evening air. Memories flash by my father's angry face, my mother's tear-streaked cheeks, Hannah's frantic accusations. Then I picture the lonely nights on my friend's couch, the humiliation of explaining to coworkers why I had no place to go, the quiet heartbreak of longing for my family's warmth. A weight lifts off my shoulders. I realize I'm finally free. I don't need their approval or their presence. I have Liza, a supportive network of friends, a career I've built with my own hands. The truth came out, justice was served, and I can stand tall, no longer haunted by the blame that once strangled me. Someone asked me recently if I regret exposing Hannah. I simply replied, "No one deserves to live under a lie." It wasn't about revenge. It was about clearing my name and understanding why they cast me aside so easily. Now, I have that clarity. My conscience is clear. I glance at Liza, who smiles softly. "You look peaceful," she says. "I am," I whisper. Then I kiss her cheek, grateful for this moment, for the promise of a future untainted by my family's betrayal. As night falls, I walk back inside, feeling a quiet sense of closure. The shadows of the past have lost their power. My dignity has been restored, my truth recognized. If that makes me the bad guy in their story, so be it. I survived, and I'm a better person for it. In the end, not all families reconcile. Sometimes, the best we can do is move on, carrying the lessons of heartbreak with us, forging a path that no longer bends to the will of those who manipulate, betray, and abandon. That's exactly what I did, and I've never felt stronger.